Job creation is a major challenge for the African continent. The total African labor force is expected to reach 1 billion by 2030. Young people are particularly affected by unemployment. It is estimated that 1/3 of young people can't currently find work. Because of a rapidly growing population, the situation is especially acute in East Africa. Ethiopia alone receives an additional 2 million new entrants into the job market every single year, while DRC, Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda will have to cope with more than 1 million new entrants. This puts tremendous pressure on the economies of East Africa, requiring the creation of an additional 700,000 jobs every single month. Whose responsibility is governments across the region have set ambitious targets for job creation. In Kenya, for instance, the government aims to create more than 450,000 manufacturing jobs by 2025. Yet, according to a recent Afrobarometer survey, over 70% of Africans believe that their governments have not done well in creating the right conditions for a more vibrant labor market. In any case, governments alone cannot deliver the necessary job creation. The private sector will need to take a lead. This is where the African Continental Free Trade Area comes in. The Economic Commission for Africa estimates that the Continental Free Trade Area will help create up to 2 million new jobs in East Africa, particularly in the manufacturing, agro-processing, and textile sectors. It will boost regional trade by more than $1 billion. And let's not forget the contribution of the service sector. It already accounts for around 55% of the regional economy. A lot of new opportunities will open up in tradable services like tourism, ICT, and finance. A second contribution of the Continental Free Trade Area is the Free Movement Protocol. There are a lot of unemployed skilled people across the continent. In East Africa, 1 in 5 people with secondary or university level education are currently without a job. Yet at the same time, many countries are suffering from serious shortages of qualified employees. In Tanzania, for example, more than 40% of companies complain of an inadequately skilled workforce. The implementation of the Free Movement Protocol will allow young people to move to where there is a need for their skills and talents. A third area where the Continental Free Trade Area will help young people is by providing them opportunities to establish new businesses. African youth are among the most enterprising in the world. A 2013 Gallup survey showed that more than 1 in 3 Africans plan to start up a business over the next 12 months. In Uganda, that figure rises to 2 out of every 3 people, making it one of the most entrepreneurial places in the world. The Continental Free Trade Area will give young entrepreneurs access to a much larger, vibrant continental market, allowing young people to set up new businesses and tap into the growing demand for made-in-Africa goods and services.
So the AfCFTA is supposed to provide these economies of Eastern Africa that are doing very well an opportunity to diversify the sources of this income, because if you have a more diversified Eastern African economy, then we are in a better position to sustain the consumption that we are doing, create shock absorbers within our sub-region, and of course it also gives us an opportunity to be bigger players when it comes to the whole weight of the economic weight of the country. So the key thing is the AfCFTA is supposed to give us an opportunity to diversify on what we are producing, on what we are selling, both goods and services, to allow us to finance our consumption, and especially that consumption is also driving other economies within the continent. Just to mention that we've had regional integration efforts within the continent, and we made very good progress at the sub-regional level, especially in opening up our trade. But one of the things that all of you would agree, the reason why we have not been able to operate at potential is because we've been leaving out services. So you want somebody to start adding, to build a regional value chain within the Eastern African region, get milk from Uganda, process it in Kenya, or process it in Tanzania. And then you miss out on the services component of this value chain. Now, so we need to lead from here. All of us are agreeing that one of the biggest innovations of the AfCFTA, it may not look like an innovation to the rest of the world, but it is an innovation to us that for the first time we're able to get both the goods protocol and the services protocol at the same time. And as we worry about where to get these 8.5 million jobs that we need to create every year for our continent, the services sector offer one of the quickest routes through which we can be able to do this. And considering that now we're in a digital space, and the Eastern African region is doing very well in terms of the digitalization of our economies. We have the infrastructure, we have highly talented young people. So services becomes a big part of this. And so the statistics is the question that you asked, but in addition to the statistics, we need to understand those value chains. So we are trying to do that with AUC and ANTAD to understand the services value chains for some of these 5 sectors that have been prioritized as part of the initial offers between countries under the AfCFTA. And we believe if we can get that right, then it will be much easier for us to optimize on the services sector.
When it comes to AfCFTA, I think there are 2 areas where this statistics or data on services would be key. First, during negotiation. Right, so during negotiation, if member states, if they don't know their export products or items to other potential markets, that is one challenge. That is from internal side. Even from the external side, if the importing country, what kind of services or to what extent, the magnitude, the market size, so on and so forth, is also very key. Those, to some extent, you can patch some data here and there, and you can put things on table. But most of all, for the trade in services, what matters most would be, in addition to the data, would be list of regulations that apply for different sectors. That is actually the most key element, where you will see, when it comes to trading goods or merchandise, you can see the goods crossing borders, so the custom officials, they will see where it is coming from, how it's made, so on and so forth. But for services, all those things are absent in a way. So what you find is regulations, how you market, how you keep the standard. So what we are doing at the AfCFTA level is, one, there is African Trade Observatory that we have launched, that will capture the intra-African trade data in statistics, both in goods and services. And the other, what we are doing is, Stephen was, in his presentation, one of the slides he indicated, there are 5 service sectors which are prioritized for liberalization under this initiative, the AfCFTA. So we are conducting sectoral studies across Africa on those 5 sectors, one. Second, we are doing regulatory audits for each member states who are part of these AfCFTA negotiations. That will assist where member states stand at this level and what length and far they can actually, at the negotiation level, there will be offers and requests. So how far liberalization have been taking place or will have been taking place to be easier to measure. So at least it is a challenge, but we have to start doing things at some point, and we are doing, hopefully, those will be very, very useful.
The national AfCFTA strategies, at the end of the day, their intention, in fact, we have guidelines. Their intentions are to help countries identify what they need to do to enhance their competitiveness so that they can optimize on the CFTA. And two, the second thing that the strategies are about is inclusiveness. You want to make sure that you come up with a national strategy that caters for the young people, that caters for the women, it caters for the MSMEs. So these national strategies are not meant to be defensive instruments, using the jargon of trade negotiations. They are not supposed to be defensive instruments. They are supposed to be competitiveness strategies that will enable a country to know that we have a comparative advantage in the area of this particular service. What is it that we need to do? And then when you add all these national competitiveness strategies and if countries now implement them at the national level, then you have a bigger competitiveness of the sub-region and also for our continent. So that's the way to approach, to look at it.
We sit down and we are demand driven. We sit down with country teams, with the country, and say, okay, what do you want? This is the gap. How can we support you to address this gap? And for CFTA, I know my colleague, our Director for Trade Policy, is looking at me. This is exactly what Trademark is offering. How best can we support countries, one, to identify what are the gaps and how best they can actually benefit from CFTA, and from there, of course, we are creating a market for ourselves, is how can we implement it now? Because we have the money to spend, and we want to spend with you, but based on what you have identified as important and critical to benefit from CFTA. Thank you. I'm worried that we are fast-tracking CFTA, we don't have data, and these days people are talking of evidence-based decision-making. Well, I know there are some proxies that my colleague from AU described, but I don't think they're good enough. And I just wanted to allude to a conference that I attended in June in Rome, convened by FAO, DFID, World Bank, and it was about inclusive agriculture and rural transformation. The backbone of economies in Africa mainly are people in the agricultural sector. And there was a very interesting presentation from Michigan State University which shows there's a quiet revolution. There's a quiet revolution happening just under our nose in Africa. And what does that mean? There's MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. In agriculture, for example, it's only 5% of agricultural output that is sold to big boys, supermarkets. 95% is actually sold quietly. And in that research, they described a very interesting process. You have the demand side of things and you have the supply side of things. And in between, we have a huge of agricultural sector, people who are involved in the supply chains, including even women and youth. And what they argue is that this middle, the hidden middle, not the misty middle, it's there. It's the hidden middle, and the quiet revolution has already started to take place. They do offer services. If you look at the agricultural sector, the upward stream, okay? They actually provide services. Agriculture is becoming more mechanized, so they provide services to the farmers. When you come to the demand side, these are the people, because of urbanization, change in diets across our cities, they are growing. These are the people who are Uber Eats, if you will. They are providing services. And so there's a huge revolution that is happening just beneath us. And yet we are discussing on how countries can discuss. So I think that we need to make concerted effort to build the knowledge base to inform these negotiations.
The AfCFTA and its implementation. but it should not be taken as such that we are against regional integration or the transfer of goods, movements of people, services, otherwise, because that has been the main drive of developing IGAD in post-independent Eritrea immediately, and we have been one of the lead elements in terms of establishing or transforming IGAD that was established for fighting desertification into an IGAD meant for development and transformation of future development in the Horn of Africa region. So we do appreciate the effort that has been made so far, but that's the context that has to be taken as far as Eritrea is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you for those reassuring words, Ambassador Tesfa Bikaya, who is with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Allow me to throw over to our dear MC, who will usher us into the next issue on the program. Otherwise, thank you very much for me.